What happens when two seasoned business leaders get together? They talk shop, of course. Sit back and listen in as Scott DeLong and Vince Moiso share from their experience around current issues facing executives, entrepreneurs, and their leadership teams. The CEO Podcast starts now.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the CEO Podcast. It's been a while since we've been with you. Vince and I took a break, but we missed it, and we missed you. My name's Scott DeLong. I am one of the founders of this podcast, and Vince Moiso, my friend, is the other. You can get a hold of me anytime you want at scott@leadtogoals.com.
Yeah, Vince Moiso here, man. Scott, I got to tell you, I'm really glad to be back. I've been missing it, so I'm excited that we're putting out this limited series right now, and let's just start jumping in. You guys can find me at visbiz.us or just check out vincemoiso.com. Really simple way, or you can email me at vince@visbiz.us. Real easy way to reach out. So what do we got, Scott?
Well, let's jump into episode 1.
All right.
Tough calls in tough times. So leaders need to make very difficult decisions given the current economic and political climate. How do they do that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, theme for the podcast today, right, is the current state of business. So you've got inflation, crazy inflation. You've got tariffs. You know, the whole beginning of this year was just marked with tariffs. So if you're in, like me, if you're in distribution and manufacturing, and especially if you're doing it overseas or out of the country, cross borders, you've got all kinds of headwinds. AI, disruption, how to leverage it for your business. Is it hurting you? Is it helping you? What about just interest rate anxiety? So like in my business, for example, housing starts are down. I've got the 3 buckets: the residential remodel, the commercial, and then your residential new build, all of which are a little bit off. And so, what are you doing to combat any of that? And there's just a lot of uncertainty, Scott. So, what's your angle on all that?
So mine is, leaders need to stay calm. That's the first thing that we need to be able to do.
Yeah.
Is we need to be able to stay calm, and we've always had to have vision. We've always had to be able to see out in the future.
Yeah.
And then communication clarity.
Yeah.
That's the third piece of this. We don't need panic, and we don't need overreaction. One of the things when I talk about calm, so I want to be able to make data-driven decisions versus the fear-based decisions. There's a lot of things in the news every single day, and it's easy to react. Yeah. One of the things that I tell people all the time is that what I want to do is take in the information, and I want to be able to act upon it rather than react to it. And I see that as 2 different things. So I'm not saying that you can't trust your gut, because most of us, especially the entrepreneurs,
no question.
we do go with what we believe.
Yeah.
But what I'm suggesting is, in addition to that gut, take a look at the data and see what you think that it means.
Well, you got to get rid of the distractions, right, Scott? So it's funny you brought up the news. We've talked about this in previous podcasts before. Yeah. One of the most liberating things that I did over a decade ago was I stopped watching the news. And you have to be really selective. So I want to say, okay, I got rid of it completely cold turkey. And yes, it created this uncanny freedom, right? So my mind share.
Yeah, but probably anxiety too.
But a little bit. Yeah,
Sure.
Initially there was some FOMO, right?
Yep.
And then,
Yep.
you go into social situations and people are talking about a topic that you don't know about because you're not watching the news. But then as I evolved around that, especially because I'm a business owner, is you get selective with the news. So if you think about all the things that I mentioned as we're talking about the theme of this podcast, I was talking about inflation and rising costs. Certainly we're faced this year and last year with a ton of our raw material costs going up and almost without notice, right? We have to pay attention to that stuff. As tariffs were happening for us at the beginning of the year, we have to keep our eye on that ball because it impacts our business directly. So I've evolved to the point where the news that I'm going after, I go seek it versus, I'm just going to get up and watch the news, or I'm going to scroll on social media for my news or anything like that. I get rid of those distractions, but other distractions even when you're at your desk, get rid of all the dinging on your computers every time you're getting an email notification. Turn off all your notifications on your phone, like text messages, things like that distract you from staying focused. I think right now there's no more important time than to be totally focused on your business and to keep that focus and not let, all the noise pull you away from what's most important.
So you went to a couple places there, and I want to take a step back. I want to go back to the news, and you went out and seeking your news. And I got a different take on that. So I'm still a consumer of the news. I'm still a consumer of the mass media news as well. But what I try to do is I try to look at both angles of that. There are facts, and then there's opinions based on
Sure.
facts.
Yeah.
And that's what we're getting in the mass media. What I'm concerned about when we talk about being selective about what I'm going after is with the algorithms going on right now and social media and all those things, are you being fed the news that confirms the biases that you already have? Or can you take a look at both sides and make up your own mind?
Yeah, isn't that the social media algorithm though, Scott? Right? Like you are. I mean, it is kind of creepy. You can have a conversation about a certain topic, and then that's what's showing up in your social media feed, right?
Absolutely.
And then if you do a search on the computer, I mean, that's the danger. Is I'll go seek the news that I want to get information
And you'll
about,
get more of it.
and then lo and behold, when I eventually do, I don't spend a ton of time on social media, and when I get on social media, that's what's in my feed. And so it's kind of creepy because sometimes you're only being fed the things that are local to you, or at least what you're out searching for. What I love that you said though is just you got to think for yourself, right? So you got to take in the information because it's just data.
Yep.
At that point, because you were talking about let's make data-driven decisions.
That's right.
I could not agree more. Yeah, I do. We have to trust, as entrepreneurs, we have to trust our gut sometimes. Like, we have to make decisive, fast decisions. Sometimes we don't have the luxury of time to make decisions, so we can't gather all the data. In an ideal scenario, I'm a huge fan of getting as much data that you can possibly get.
Sure.
And make data-driven decisions. Sometimes you just don't have the luxury of being able to do all of that, and there are components that are missing, and so you do have to trust your gut a little bit. And especially I have to say again, being in a manufacturing distribution heavy business, sometimes that's the case. We've got to make quick decisions, and we've got to trust our guts.
Sure, I get that. But I also have a theory or a practice that I believe is to be true, is that sometimes we need to slow down in order to speed up.
Oh yeah.
Let me give you an example. Got a current client right now. They are killing it. Like the bunch of young guys that have been just go, all marketing driven kind of thing, and their business is going through the roof. They've gone from $1 million a year to $2 million a year. They hit 10, and now they're hitting 25 and 30.
That's crazy.
It's just the hockey stick is going up. It's
I
really
love that.
cool to watch them. However, that is also a recipe for disaster,
Can be.
right? So they ended up hiring a young person, another young person. He's a few years older than they are, but has some experience with a larger company and a project manager. And this person's driving them nuts, right? Because she's slowing them down, and from their mindset, slowing them down.
Yeah.
They know they need some of the discipline and some of the practice,
Yeah.
but it's slowing them down. But I believe that as soon as they get over that hump where they integrate both sets of practices, the entrepreneurial spirit and the drive with the project management experience, it's going to solidify their business so they can keep that trajectory happening.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this before. First off, entrepreneurs don't like to be told what to do. So,
Well, no.
it's really hard. And when you're bootstrapped, 'cause it sounds like these guys were bootstrapped, and,
Yep.
and I think you've mentioned them to me before. And you start from ground up, Ken. It's just you, right? It's just you and a few other people. And so you're pretty much doing what you want. You're making it up as you go in a lot of ways.
And everything's working,
Yeah,
right? There's another danger, everything working.
We talk about this, like what got you here won't get you there.
That's
And
right.
as you're starting to grow and scale, you recognize that you need this outside help. And then it's a real struggle. But the problem is the entrepreneur. It's not the project manager.
No.
It's
Well, yes and no.
well,
One of the things that we've needed to deal with the project manager is to teach her the entrepreneurial language and the entrepreneurial theme
Bingo.
and mindset,
So-
because
Yeah.
you just saying no is going to get you fired,
Yeah.
right? Because they're not a no kind of place.
Yeah.
So understand where their motivation is, which is different than the large company that you came from.
Geez, are we getting into disc personality here, Scott? Because I
Well-
feel like we're right back into knowing. No, I love it.
Sure.
I think that's
Sure.
what.
But it's
I
crazy
immediately-
and it's fun at the same time.
It
right?
is, and
Watching the growth from both sides.
I just go to that place where, it's so important to understand somebody's personality type and understand what you're dealing with. I coach my team. It's much harder to manage up than it is to manage down or even sideways.
Absolutely.
And so we talk about that all the time. And I spend more time coaching on managing up than I do on managing down. And it's a critical piece for somebody internally that wants to grow in their own position and grow in their own career. You have to get good at managing up. But hold on, that's not our.
We're going to be doing that topic coming up.
We are.
right?
That's why I didn't want to go
that is
down
in
the
our
rabbit
series,
hole.
so we're not going to go down there.
Yeah.
So let's get back tough times, right, and the tough decisions we need to make. What are some of the processes that you go through? Gather data,
Yep.
analyze data, share with people. I'm not sure where you go with that, right? My position might be different than yours, but want to hear with that, and then making a decision and deciding how to decide.
Well, you brought up a really good point because you said sometime, and repeat what you said. Sometimes you have to slow down to speed up.
That's right.
And I agree with that statement. And we're in that position right now. And we were at the precipice of making a tough decision. And we all got together, my partners and I, and we said, you know what? This is an instance where we have the time to slow down.
Okay.
Like there is no rush to make this decision.
And if we rush, we might be making some big, fast mistakes.
Exactly. And it might not get us the results that we really need.
right.
And so we recognized that what we needed to do. So you asked the question about, well, what's the process? So in this case, we slowed down to just do a reflection or an audit, whatever word that you want to use for it. But internally, just to understand, okay, do we have the right processes in place? Do we have the right organizational structure? So, in other words, the right butts in the right seats, right? And as we're starting to shift the business and shift some of the focus of the business, and it depends too. I will tell you, you often answer with "it depends."
It depends.
Right?
That's right.
And this is a situation where it depends, and it depends on if your business is capitalized. So it sounds like the business you were just talking about, they're well capitalized, so they can make really good decisions, really fast decisions for scaling. And when you're in manufacturing, there's a lot of unknowns, and there's a lot of things that happen that drag on your capital. That I would tell you, 1 month we're in a great position. And we have to be careful that we're not too quick to make decisions because the next month might not look so good.
Yeah.
And so if we make a decision that, say, is capital intensive 1 month to the next, and it hurts us and we're not able to get the chemicals we need to produce to demand, then that's going to impact overall the results that we're going to get.
Yeah.
So to that point, sometimes we do have to slow down and really look, and we have to do that internal audit. We have to do that efficiency review. We have to look at things.
So my question is so there's functional heads of departments, right? And,
Yes.
And as executives, you guys each have those split out. Is that functional head making those decisions, or are you making it together with the rest of the partnership?
Yeah, we're making it together.
Good,
So for
good.
sure, we're collaborating, and I think it has to be a collaborative. Big decisions should be a collaborative opportunity for the business. And I mean, there's a couple reasons why for that. One is when you're small, you're going to make a lot of unilateral decisions.
That's right.
And as you grow, you're going to make more collaborative decisions because
Hopefully.
you have to have, in my opinion, and I've learned this the hard way, is you've got to have buy-in from your team members, especially your key team members. And that buy-in is so critical because then they're really going to go all in on whatever that decision is or whatever it is you're doing for the business to move it along. But that sparks the debate. So here's
go.
my question.
Let's go.
Which is now the time for bold moves, or is now a better time for more principled patience?
Well, you already gave my answer. It depends,
Yeah.
right? So it depends on a lot of factors: where you are in your current business, how well capitalized you are, what are the market opportunities, where are your competitors, and what are they doing? Because sometimes a bold move's a bold move, and we got to go do it,
Yeah.
and that makes things
Yeah.
happen. But typically, what I'm going to suggest is that while bold moves still need to take place from time to time, we need to slow down, sit together, and make the decisions that are going to be best for us. Not best for my department or best for your department, or I got this extra cash, let's go do that. But it's the best decisions that we can make for us using the minds that are in the building at the same time.
Yeah, I'm pressing hard in my business right now, Scott. I think it is an opportunity. You're right. It depends on where the business is at
Right.
and what you've got going on. I won't disagree with that. I mean, for us, we're making some bold moves, and I think it's an opportunity for us to go recapture market share. And you've got to be a little aggressive to go do that. So we're making decisions for 2026 that are really going to position us in a way that we haven't been positioned.
But my
in
point
a
is
long
that's not
time.
just the sales and marketing guy making that
No.
decision. It is the person that's got the finance, the person that's doing the
We got
operations,
everybody.
and the sales and marketing people together.
Yeah, we've got everybody
making that choice.
We're putting all of that into our budget. We're planning way out ahead.
Yeah.
We're making some aggressive moves, and I like it. That's what we need in our business. So the timing for that in our business is super critical. And I think that would be the same. You know, the example that you used earlier is so that business that's really scaling. And is well capitalized,
Right.
they're certainly going to consider making bold moves right
Absolutely.
now
Absolutely.
versus just being patient and being principled in that way. So, Scott, like what are the questions, if there's any, as we start to wrap up the conversation around all this? Because like all of our podcasts, I feel like we could spend well over an hour on some of these topics because there's so many examples. But what are the questions that any of our listeners, so the entrepreneurs out there, the CEOs, the key executives that are listening to this podcast episode right now, what are the questions they should be asking internally for some next steps given the situation in their business?
Well, I think you did that. I'm going to make an assumption here that we already know deeply who we are, why we exist. And if we don't, those are the first questions that we need to ask, right? Get together as your team and answer those. Who are we? Why are we here? What are we really about? Now, let's assume you've got those things taken care of. The other questions we need to ask are looking at the market conditions, what is happening out there in the political and economic world, certainly, but even within the industry, and what are our competitors doing, and how do we look at what we think they're doing, therefore our action or reaction to those conditions. Do we have the capital, right, the resources? Do we have the political will, meaning internally within our own organization? That's a big piece of it as well. Because if we're going to be making these bold moves, they're probably going to be fast, they're probably going to be hard. We're going to probably be asking people to do things that they haven't done before. And do we have the people that can do that have the internal fortitude to be able to do that? All those questions need to lead to the answers.
Yeah, I agree. And the only thing I would add to that, and I think you were starting to say that, is now's a really great time for just to check on your vision, that 3-year vision. Like step back for a second, make sure what you're doing is aligning with whatever that 3-year vision. I wouldn't go out any further right now than 3 years, maybe 5 at the most, but I think a 3-year vision at this point people should be resetting. You know, if you're not clear where you're going, like we already did that last year.
Yeah.
And we're super clear where we're going.
Right.
And if you haven't done that, you know, in the last several years,
Step
now's
one.
the time for a reset or a recheck on that. All right. We're there, Scott.
Yeah.
And this was awesome.
Just a
Episode
start.
1,
Just a
limited
start. We got more.
series. Super excited to be back, and stay tuned for episode 2 coming out in a few weeks.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good
Thanks,
seeing you
everybody.
again.
Thank you for joining us for the CEO Podcast. Please visit us at theceopodcast.net, where you can learn more about our co-hosts and listen to past episodes. If you would like to have a discussion and dive deeper into any topic, there is also an option to contact Scott or Vince to schedule some time with them. Thanks for listening.